If you're in the market for a compact, small, mid-size-ish like vehicle, there are tons of choices. One name sticks out is probably that little Civic Honda thing. But there's one you may be missing out on. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now this week, we compare kind of that Honda Civic that has got a little bit of limelight with this model behind me, the 2017 Hyundai Elantra. And what you're going to see is they measure up quite comparably, and this one goes up against the big boy. For the Elantra, you can use two interchangeable words, compact and mid-size. It's falling somewhat in between. Now, when you look at this market, nothing's really drastically changed over its evolution. They pretty much keep the same stereotypical design, but what they've done since 2011, they've revamped this just a little bit compared to that model. Where you're going to see it really is in the silhouette. It used to be more curvaceous like styling. Now a little bit more masculine. Where you see that is in this chiseling down the side, a little more sculpting versus curves and all of that. Now when you compare this to the Honda Civic, the styling on the outside to me is somewhat similar. What's great is you can actually take this up against Acuras and other two-door and four-door coupes because it really has a nice exterior. It's not too geekish and, well, blends in quite nice with the competition. When comparing the two vehicles, the Civic and the Elantra, one thing you want to look at really is by the numbers. Now overall, the wheelbase is almost identical, just over 106 inches for both vehicles. The small difference really comes to the overall length. This vehicle coming in around about 179 inches, about 3 inches less than the Civic, and that's going to kind of come into play more at the back end than on the inside. Now some other numbers to think about is the overall width, about the same. The height here, just a little bit taller. Now again, all those numbers really kind of come into play. Both vehicles really matching up quite well. Now another number to look at is a typical sedan, which is low to the ground. This having decent ground clearance around about 5.3 inches. Just for comparison's sake, an SUV upwards of 8+. Now this particular model is the Eco version and somewhat basic, and you'll see that with the appointments on the inside. Where you also see it is at the four corners, these being somewhat standard 15-inch wheels, very small when it comes to the world of tires. Now what you can do is upgrade with different models, and that's going to go to either a 16 or 17-inch wheel. Sweeping down the side of the vehicle before we get to the front, what you're going to notice back here with this somewhat straight shooter is a little bit of pizzazz, and where you see that is in the rear taillight assembly, really sweeping down the side of the vehicles. Nothing really new to the industry, but of course they're bringing it on the Elantra, taking it to the next level. Now one thing I always look for are the accents, really all the treatments around the vehicle. And what I don't like on an econo vehicle like this is trying to dress it up too blingy. What I'm referring to is chrome accents. What I like is what we see here. Nice black adornments, and they really minimize that. Pretty much body color all the way around, even on the door handles. Simple black here, a little bit on the grille, and little niches here and there. One thing you got to do on this market is you got to really bring the grille warfare, because even though this is a kind of a econo go-getter, compact, small vehicle, you really want to have a nice welcoming front end, well, maybe at least aggressive, and that's what we see here. And where it starts is the nice hexagon grille, brought over from the Sonata, bringing that family line. But I also like that we have the nice horizontal slats adorned in a black accent and kind of a brushed chrome, not that polished, which I don't like. Of course, the Hyundai emblem taken front and center. Now everywhere else is pretty much body color all the way around. Nice lower fascia that sweeps down. Now if you look way back, this industry didn't do the front grille at all very well. Pretty much plain Jane. Now when you look at the headlights, not stereotypical, really menacing, coming down the front end, really piercing the traffic. Again, the fascia coming down low, and what you see on both ends bracketing the grille is nice daytime running lights stacked vertical. Now don't be confused when you pop the hood, because again, this is the Eco model, so the engine you thought was standard, well, isn't here. Instead, it's the 1.4 turbo that you may be familiar with. Now that versus the 2.0, I'll get into in a second. Now what you're going to see here on the 1.4 is decent, well, modest horsepower, around about 128 horses and 156 foot-pounds of torque. Now that versus the standard 2.0 liter inline four-cylinder, going to be around about 147 horses, but only 132 foot-pounds of torque. This give a little bit more boot, scoot, and boogie. Now compared to the Civic, that's going to average about 158 horses on the low end and 175 horses if you go with the more spirited four-cylinder. Now this car may be eco-friendly, compact, mid-size, doesn't mean it can't come with, well, some technology, and where it starts is right here with the key. Now we talked about this 1,000 times because most vehicles are coming with it. Now what's great is, of course, it's that proximity key. Basically be able to walk up, press the button, it's going to unlock. Now with the driver's side, that's going to be a two-step process. Press it once, lets you in, press again, going to unlock the rest. Now if you're on the other side of the car, on the passenger side, press that once, it'll unlock everybody. Now what's also great, depending on the level of this vehicle, as you walk up close to it, it's going to have proximity lighting. The key is going to be recognized by the car. It's going to illuminate nice and pretty. Now what I also like is this has safety built in. Blind spot awareness, even on this kind of basic-ish model, going to alert you if someone's there. Even better, turn on the blinker. Should someone be in your blind spot, it's going to alert you even more alarming to prevent any kind of scrapes and dings or maybe minor accidents. Now sweeping down to the vehicle, I always talk about security with the doors, and one other place is the fill-up area. Now a lot of vehicles are locking this with the car and so on and whatever. They keep it somewhat straightforward, putting a lever there by the driver. You pop this when you get to the fill-up. Now what I do like is it is on the driver's side, making fill-ups, well, one step easier. Swinging around to the business end of the Elantra, let's compare it to that of the Civic, and well, who shines bigger? Now first thing we want to look at is rear design. Now what you're going to notice is that body color comes all the way around, a little black accent down low, but pretty much nice sculpted fascia mirroring the rest of the vehicle. Now when you look at the rear trunk lid, a little bit of nice curvaceousness curving out here, and maybe a hint of spoiler if you magnify just a hair and hope for a little bit of an angle to add a little bit of sport. Otherwise, pretty much straightforward. Now, as for safety, there are no backup sensors here, kind of an overkill in this particular model, but there is a nice backup camera, pretty much standard operating procedure across the entire market. Now, as for cargo, let's dive inside. Now, what you're gonna find in this vehicle is around about 14.5 cubic feet. That compared to the Civic, which is about 15.1, so the Civic winning out just a hair. One thing about an average size trunk, if you need more space, well, it easily can convert. And the way you do that is not simply reaching in here, grabbing for a handle, but it's actually a lot simpler. Simply pulling on these pull tabs, one on each side. Now it's gonna take the 60-40 split rear seat and tumble it forward, easily taking the cargo here inside the vehicle. When you climb inside this Elantra model, what you're going to notice with the eco-friendly model is, well, it's somewhat eco on the inside when it comes to economics. And what I'm referring to is, well, it's somewhat straightforward. And, well, I'm okay with that. Now, what you're going to notice is somewhat standard bucket seats. And I like the fact that they're not real sculpted, pretty much allowing any different size individuals really to find comfort. Now, everything in here was pretty much manual operations to and fro. And again, that was fine with me. Now, as for legroom numbers, it's going to be equal up front with the Civic and the Elantra, over 42 inches. Now, for the back seat here on the Elantra, around about 35, 2 inches less than the Civic, but again, somewhat comparable at the end of the day. Now, regardless of the type of vehicle, whether it's a compact or luxury model, one thing I want is technology and innovation, and the Elantra delivers it right here front and center with this nice 7-inch touchscreen system. Now, there is an optional 8-inch screen that's going to deliver more navigation, but this worked just fine. Now, what you're going to see is a quadrant-like system, really dividing everything up for ease of operation. Now, one thing I really liked and used all the time was the entertainment area. Now it's going to allow you to really see what you're using and allow you to set nearly 40 stations. That can vary between XM, AM, FM, really allow you to scroll through the various presets. Now down below are going to be nice shortcuts to interact with the screen, and I always like the fact you have a tune select. That really allows you to dial it in like the old school days. One area that looked more like an upgrade than basic is right here with the climate controls with the dual zones. Now you're able to dial in specific temperatures for both occupants up front, and you do have the nice shortcut for sync if you want to make everybody equal. Now as for the mode select, it's going to be all housed right here. Nice fan speed, pretty much everything nice and tight and easy to use. Now the engine is coupled with either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed auto like you see here, and it does have kind of a clutchless like system. You can tap it to the left and feel like you're shifting gears if you want to. Now this vehicle did come standard with heated controls here. I'm not going to use it during these summer months. Now one thing you really want to look for is this drive mode. Now there's 3 different versions. Pretty much keep it in normal, you can keep it in econo mode, or the sport version. Now the sport's really going to deliver this vehicle with a little bit more attitude, and it may be something you look forward to because it's going to give you a little bit more boot, scoot, and boogie. Underneath the full center console stack, what you're going to find is this nice hidden cover, and that's going to display all your connectivity. Really 2 power outlets, an auxiliary jack, and a USB connection. Even better, little area for storage. For the gauge, it's pretty much standard operating procedure with a nice analog tach and speedometer, but what I do like is right there in the middle. Now it's a nice digital readout. It's going to give you various information. Even better, nice digital readout for the speed. Now we found this to be lacking on some vehicles, but not here on the Elantra, giving you precise readings when you're flooring it down the road. On the steering wheel, you're going to find shortcuts for the entertainment on the left and cruise control on the right, and you will find the various screen selections between the gauges right here. Looking at the back seat, pretty much straightforward here, somewhat bench-like, but what I liked is there's nice individualized attention on the sides, kind of built-in sports seating, and a little bit of a hump in the middle. Now, one thing you're not going to find is a center armrest, which pretty much means where the cup holders. Now, what I like is the cup holders are positioned on the side doors, nice little niche, but there's also some found in this little area here. Now, they're tucked away, but you pull them out, those are going to present cup holders right where you want them between the two occupants in the back. Now it does it for this edition of Road Warrior in our test drive behind the wheel of the 2017 Hyundai Elantra. Now we compared it to that of the Honda Civic, and well, both measure up quite equally. Now what I like about that is most people maybe are overlooking this vehicle, and what's really great is the starting price. This vehicle in some cases coming in about $2,000 less than that of the Civic, when actually you're getting about the same thing. So depending on what you're looking for, really consider this vehicle, compare it to the other models, and what you're going to see is this one really can hold its own. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.